So, I was about to post a video that I recorded last week, and I don't have as much time to do these as I used to, and so they are spur of the moment. Most of them, the words coming out of my mouth is the first time that I've heard those words, and I don't know, I might still post that, but as I was getting ready to, I felt like I could articulate this a little more completely. So I'm going to try. I'm going to just see if it maybe comes out with a little more flow, but clunky's okay too. So we'll see. I'm trying to connect the dots on a couple of different things here in regards to shame, the experience of shame, other kinds of defensiveness, anger, denial, and what they actually really appear to be tracking back to in every case, in every instance. And I want to specifically, what the other video was about was this notion of supremacy, right? And that this is something that ego craves. But I want to talk about why. And so I'm trying to figure out where to start with this. Because ultimately it's all grief. All of it is a response to grief. This grief being the fear that life wants to harm us. And it's a misperception, it's a misunderstanding. But it is based on the reality that is really, really hard, that is impossible as a young thing and as a young human in terms of the evolution of our species. It's been impossible to accept this reality about ourselves, and that is the reality of our vulnerability. If we look at human exceptionalism, which is essentially speciesism, right? It is the belief, the story that the human species is special in that it is above the rest of nature. We're somehow some special, just like the best ever. We're the top. We are the best thing that nature has ever created. And in fact, we are different from the rest of nature. So different that we place ourselves above and apart. And we kind of remove ourselves from the rest of the family. We think we are exceptional. We are the exception. Exceptional in a way that is supreme, right? That humans reign supreme. And there's this whole story that we're meant to dominate the earth, that we're meant to rule the earth, that somehow nature saw fit to create one single species, and yes, she did create humans. One single species that would just be better than the rest and lead the rest, and I don't know, somehow everything else came first. We were the last on the scene. We are the most recently evolved, and yet we are the ones supposed to be leading this whole thing. And from human exceptionalism, all of the versions of superiority, all of the isms stem from. They all bloom from here. Because once you start creating hierarchy, you don't stop. It just keeps going. You just get smaller and smaller in your subcategories of where you're ranking people. But this original sense of superiority, that humans are superior to all other life forms on this planet, this itself is a fear response. This positioning, this angling against, and you can feel it. You can feel it. The positioning, anytime you can feel the positioning of the self above, apart, against, it's out of fear. What else could it be? It's out of fear. And even more than that, or as what I'm trying to weave into this, what I'm recognizing is that every fear response or trauma response or trigger, whatever we want to call it, the whole fight, flight, fawn spectrum, which has expanded, that maps directly onto stages of grief. It's grief. The fear response is a reaction to grief. And that grief comes from the story that something is harming us, because we feel the hurt of it, and so we think it's a harming. And this grief, all this grief traces back to this original misunderstanding of our positioning, of our place, of our part in the system of life. A misunderstanding of our vulnerability. That it is not a defect, that there is something special here, but it's not a separate kind of special. In the same way that a flower is something incredibly special, but it's not separate from the rest of the plant. It's not that the flower is above the rest of the plant. It's that the flower is the highest expression of the plant. The flower is the rest of the plant. There's no separation. The human is nature. There's no separation. And so to recognize that the human form is at present one of, I want to be careful with my wording here because this is not a positioning of supremacy. The human being is exceptional in its vulnerability, just like the flower. The human being, like the flower, is the sensory organ of nature, of consciousness itself. And it's not the only one, but in the same way that the human body has a lot of ability to sense, but a certain area is highly sensitive, a certain area is packed with sense receptors. Like, that's what it does. It feels intensely. It receives pleasure intensely in a certain area. The human being is the certain area of life where pleasure is felt most intensely. Very similar to a flower, a sensory, reproductive form. And because it is so acutely this, it is incredibly vulnerable. Sensitivity, this receptivity to sense, this ability to sense intensely, deeply, goes hand in hand with vulnerability. You can't have both. So when the human is born into this world, when there is not enough consciousness already present in that body, and this has taken a lot of time to develop, for consciousness to be able, for what we really are to be able to embody deeply here. When that consciousness is not really fully online, and it isn't in small children, perhaps this will change. It seems very likely to me that this is a part of the evolution. It will change. We will come in more aware, more acutely aware, already present, more aware of the whole thing. But when the not yet developed consciousness comes into the human body, and it's this just squishy thing. It's just this small, totally, utterly helpless, aware in a deep way, whether or not it's, expressed as a thought, aware of its vulnerability here. And if consciousness is not present to say, it's okay, this is right, this is as it should be, this degree of intense vulnerability, almost excruciating vulnerability, this is as it should be, this is as intended. The world is not here to harm you. Yes, it's going to touch you, but it's not trying to control you. It's not trying to hurt you. It's not trying to violate you. This world is your love. It's your lover. Every touch is a loving caress. But if consciousness isn't present with that awareness, then immediately the overwhelming sensation of existing in this vulnerable body, in this world of overwhelming sense, feels like threat. It feels like something is deeply wrong, and the mind interprets this as, I don't belong here. This is too much. I cannot reconcile this vulnerability with the intensity of this sensation. I can't reckon with the reality that I am existing intensely vulnerable in this unpredictable, uncontrollable environment. That is too scary. It's too scary. And it hurts too much to feel this underlying belief there that the world is out to get you, that the world into which you are born, this squishy, helpless thing, is out to get you. You have this conflicting experience of reality, the awareness that you are entirely dependent upon it, that you can do nothing for yourself here. But not enough awareness to challenge the belief that this environment upon which you are dependent is going to hurt you. And for many people, this plays out in a very real way. For most of us, in small ways, it does. For some of us, in very extreme ways. Born into a literal household with parents who are not present. And this isn't a criticism, this is just the reality. Again, the perpetuation of this grief, of being born into a world where you recognize your caregivers are not really there for you. They're trying, but they don't know how to be there for themselves. Their parents didn't know how to be there for them. It's just this chain of partially present people who've been in so much pain that most of the time they've been disembodying, right? They've been dissociating and not even realizing it. They've been distracting and not realizing it. And so you come in, this tiny, sensitive, vulnerable thing, you realize this environment is not capable of meeting my needs. It's, these people are not capable of loving. They haven't touched the unconditional dimension in themselves. They cannot give me unconditional love. This environment is terrifying. And the pain of that turns into fear and a fear response. And so something like shame is a part of this. Shame is a self-protective mechanism. When the mind recognizes that the environment upon which we depend is unpredictable and uncontrollable, it tries to take back some sense of control. It can't accept this reality. It can't accept it, isn't prepared. We're not ready yet to face the fear of that. And so it tries to take back some sense of power by saying, no, it must be me. The lack of care, the lack of meeting my needs in this immediate environment that I feel, it must be because of me. It must be something I'm doing wrong. So if I can just figure out what that is, if I can just be good enough, then all my needs will be met. Then I'll be taken care of. Then I will never have to face this fear in me, the reality that I can't control whether or not the external world is taking care of me. And of course, this gets very confusing living as a human with other humans. It's one thing to be in nature. If you are in direct contact with nature, you recognize you're not relying on humans to take care of you, you're relying on nature. And of course, humans get scooped in, that we don't feel this gap, this divide. So it makes sense, of course, then that cultures that have lived in closer contact with nature don't experience this intense egoic confusion the same way. Because they're not looking to other humans to meet their needs. They're looking to nature, and they see, oh, nature is here. Nature is thriving, full of life, ready to take care of me. And they recognize things like we are the children of nature. We are the youngest siblings, right? That's the way that it's contextualized for a lot of Native American indigenous cultures, that we are the youngest siblings. We recognize that we're the last on the scene and we know the least. In fact, we don't know anything. Here's another miraculous thing that the egoic mind cannot reckon with, that we don't come in with the knowing that other animals do. We seem to not have the same degree of just natural and immediately accessible intuition that other animals do. We don't know how to migrate. We don't immediately understand, what foods are good for us and not. We don't immediately understand what things might try to eat us. We really come in without any way to take care of ourselves, except to be shown, to be given as gift. We come in soft and squishy, and we stay soft and squishy. We don't develop into some incredibly strong predator with sharp claws and teeth. We don't grow claws and teeth. We don't grow a thick hide that protects us, or fur that protects us from the elements. Anything like that. We don't become a predator, and nor do we become a sort of prey thing that is super sensitive to sight and sound and can, detect the slightest motion and is lightning fast, and we have these incredible reflexes. No, we don't have any of that. We don't have bright colors to try to ward something off. We're not poisonous. We have no natural defense mechanisms. We start out squishy. We take a long time to even grow into a thing that is remotely capable of feeding itself. And we stay soft. We stay vulnerable for all the obsession that humanity has with hardening itself. We stay vulnerable. We stay susceptible as much as we want to deny it by obsessing over fitness and health and wealth, thinking that we can some way pack on a fortress around us, whether it is through money or muscle. We try to build a wall between ourselves and the world, all because we're denying the reality of our vulnerability, because we misunderstand it. We misunderstand hurt in the first place. We come into this world where everything hurts because it's so intense, because we are so sensitive, because we are like raw nerves. We are this bundle of nerves. We are sensory organs. The entirety of us is that. We are so sensitive. We're here to sense. We're here to feel deeply. And it does hurt. And to the egoic mind, which turns on first, because it's just this programmed protective mechanism to keep the body alive, to the egoic mind, this world is harmful. Even existing at all seems to be a mistake because it hurts, because we're so sensitive to it, we're so susceptible to everything. The tiniest touch feels threatening. So then we develop a position, some kind of position of superiority, of supremacy, because we are unable to accept the reality of our supreme vulnerability. The reality that life is taking care of us, that we can do nothing for ourselves, that we are totally dependent upon the system of life to provide for us. We are children in this world. It doesn't matter how old we get. We are the children, the little bitty squishy babies, all of us. And we don't recognize that actually the acceptance of this, the acceptance of what we are, the reality of our experiencing, and the reality of the form which we are experiencing through in this instance. We don't realize that accepting the vulnerability of this is liberation. It's liberating. The mind says it's afraid to hurt because it perceives hurt as harm. But if you can recognize that hurting is an experience, but not a truth, that the feeling of hurting is real, it's really happening, but it is not truly hurting you. It is not creating some sort of damage. It's not harming. Then you can open to hurting and begin to see that actually more you hurt, the more resilient you become. And I'm talking about all sensation because I do believe that all sensation is a kind of hurt because it is so intense for us. The stimulation of a nerve is both pain and pleasure. The nerve doesn't differentiate between those things. That's a part of the narrative in the mind. And perhaps to a degree, the quality of stimulation, right? Is it this? Is it this? But all of it is a kind of hurting. Hurting is experiencing. We've talked about this in previous videos. The suffering of something is to experience it, to suffer the pangs of love, to suffer the tender caresses, to suffer the wounding of Cupid's arrow, this divine wounding of life. And if you are open to this, if you become aware that hurting isn't harming, and that actually you like the hurt, that it's a good hurt, that all of it is pleasurable, is enjoyable in some way, then when the mind tells you, no, close up, we're afraid, we're going to be harmed here, we're afraid of hurting, you can respond directly with knowledge, with awareness, with compassion to the mind and say, thank you, mind, I understand that's how we used to operate. I understand that's the premise that you were based on, but I'm here, and the reality is I like hurting. Yes, life will hurt me, and I want it to, because none of it is harm. All of it is sensation, all of it is experience that I am experiencing, and by every experience that I am aware of and that I open to, I am aware that I am opening. I am opening wider. I am becoming bigger. The more vulnerable I become, the bigger I become. The more I open to more sensation, the more aware I am of myself, the more I become myself. The more I become myself, the more secure I feel in myself, in my being. And so, in this beautiful, ironic, paradoxical way, vulnerability is security. The more vulnerable I become to life, the more assured I am of my own being, because the more I'm experiencing it, and more deeply and more continuously. And so I get to know my limitlessness in all directions more and more. I get to know the wellness of my being, the eternal nature of my being, the more continuously I am experiencing. And so supremacy is the opposite of this. Supremacy is actually a position of deep insecurity. It is the stance of a supremely shallow and unstable sense of self. Whatever form it appears in, because it's easy to see it in regards to things like race or class, the amount of money someone has, or a degree of fitness, or perceived socially acceptable uniform idea of beauty, whatever, attractiveness. But you can also be supremely inferior. You can be a supreme victim. You can be supremely bad. This is a kind of supremacy too that places you in a unique position where you are trying to wrestle some sort of control back from reality because you're not trusting it, You're not trusting it to touch you in a way that you like. You're not trusting it to be your lover. You're not trusting it to be your mother. And you're not accepting the reality of your vulnerability. That you are vulnerable. You are exposed. You are deeply feeling. You are sensitive. And you are hurting. And so it's grief. It's grief. It's a rejection of our own grief. But we can come to terms with this. We can find acceptance. Maybe not all at once. It's taken quite some time for me. But I think it's taking less and less time because we are evolving. Life is evolving in this direction. It wants to become more sensitive and more open to itself. We want to become more sensitive and open to ourselves. We want to know ourselves, to experience ourselves more deeply. And that means opening. That means inviting in. That means accepting our vulnerable position here, admitting that we like to hurt, which also comes with unwinding any narrative that says it's bad or dangerous or harmful, or that it means anything about us. We are sensory organs. This human is a sensory organ, and what we are is sensing. Deeply, essentially, what we are is experiencing. And as experiencing, if you can shift your sense of self to this place, if you can rehome your identity as experiencing, that's this shifting of dimension to the vertical. Then you begin to recognize that all experience, all sensation is divine, is exciting and miraculous. The being of all things as they are is exciting and miraculous. And you recognize that everything is touching you all of the time, and that you are touching it too. In your willingness to experience it, to feel it, in your relocating of yourself, your grounding of yourself in experiencing, you're opening to what is, and you're letting everything touch you, you realize that it is experiencing touching you. It is now experiencing you. And you see there is a part of you that is experience and a part of you that is experiencing, but you can only be experienced when you are experiencing. Your willingness to be touched allows all of life to be touched by you, to feel you. Your willingness to feel allows you to be felt. Life opens with you. And then there is this beautiful mass blooming. And that's happening right now. And other amazing things happen as we come online to the reality of our constant touching. We no longer judge pain as negative. But we do recognize that we don't wish to inflict hurt like this. We don't want to, it's hard to use words when I've redefined them. We don't wish to inflict suffering of the traumatic kind. We don't want to pass trauma on. We'll use this word, trauma. We begin to recognize that a person who is grieving a pain very often will pass that pain along because they're unable to accept it in themselves. They don't have the awareness yet to accept. They don't have the stability in being yet. This is not a fault. This is the evolution of life. And so people who are inflicting trauma upon other people are traumatized. And that's why they're doing it. They haven't been able to face that trauma within them. And so they're pushing it off on other people. So this gives us a unique opportunity to stop that cycle. The next time someone inflicts trauma upon you, instead of blaming them, you see through it. You see where it's coming from. You see that this person feels hurt and actually feels harmed and is unable to reconcile this in themselves. And so you don't blame them. You see that they are unable to do this in this moment, but you can. You, with the awareness that you are not being harmed here, can take this hurt, you can open to this hurt that is in this moment trauma. You can convert trauma into this sort of ordinary hurt, sensation, just sensation, not denying what it is. You're not telling some other story about it that's like, this is fine, it's okay. It's really hard to describe because you are fully aware that someone is inflicting what they consider to be harm upon you, and there very likely will be an uprising within you of saying, this is harmful to me and I don't want this and I don't like this. But you can stop in that moment. You can recognize, I have a chance to just experience this pain, to experience what it is like to think that I'm being harmed, and just let that be, and open fully to be vulnerable to this, to hurt deeply, to let myself feel deeply hurt by this. And in your choice to do that and to remain here with the hurting, it transmutes. It's an accurate word, but it's so overused now. But your willingness to be present with this hurt casts the light of your awareness. You are present, you are consciously experiencing this, you are looking directly at it, and you are opening to it. And because you open to it and you let it have this space to breathe and expand within you, it just, like, it's like this gas that, just, it needed some space to dissipate within. And because you are light shining upon it, the light of consciousness, of attention, you are illuminating it. So it's not just this dark, scary, heavy, monstrous thing. It's beautiful. You find beauty. You see the preciousness. You see the being of this. You see that it isn't harming you. It is present and it is expanding you, actually. And you can appreciate the expansion of your being. You can appreciate that you are experiencing this. And so you come to appreciate a hurting, to see the value of it as a thing to experience, as something which is expanding your horizons, which is actually allowing you to move deeper into yourself, to feel more intensely, to know your wellness more intensely. And so it is clearly good. in this way. You can perceive this passing of a wound as actually something that is just increasing you. Not as a person, not as an ego, as being, as experiencing. Everything adds to experiencing. Everything that you experience adds to experiencing. And this is true for all experiencing. Again, too, it's not a level of superiority. You recognize that everything is this. Everything is experiencing. And it's all growing and expanding. And you are there with it, growing and expanding. And everything is just becoming more and more well. And so now you can stop the cycling of trauma the cycling of blame and shame, which are just fear responses to the grief of feeling harmed. Harm is an illusion, hurt is the reality. You can't accept illusion. That's why we struggle so much to reach this stage of acceptance in certain elements of grieving, because what we're trying to accept is the story, not the reality. Harm is not a reality. We can't accept harm. That's why we can't accept it. It's not true. Hurt is. Hurt is true. Hurt is real. Hurt is happening now. Hurt is self-evident. You can't accept harm because it doesn't exist. But the acceptance is in the reality, the recognition of hurting. Go there. Go into the hurting. Face that, feel that. And positions, internal positions of superiority and supremacy will simply start to dissolve. You don't have to dismantle them. They just start to come apart. They take care of themselves. Once you accept the joy of hurting, the reality of hurting, the desire for hurting, just the reality of it. The other stuff comes. The reality of hurting, that you are hurting deeply. If you can start there and you can let it happen, then the awareness that there is joy in it will arise. It arises. It just arises from you. It's not, again, some sort of mental positioning. It's something that begins to emanate. Appreciation for this experience, often with tears, sometimes with laughter. But if you can accept the reality of hurting and just open to it, because it is reality, because there's no escaping it, just start there even. Then you come to welcome it, you come to appreciate it, you come to enjoy it. And every mental position of ego that was angled against hurting, that was trying to prevent hurting, and so it created this walled off position, those just start to melt away. And compassion arises for every other form of being. And it's not some sort of virtuous, ethical, moral thing. Those words don't mean anything. It's just plain reality. It's seeing the sameness. I am experiencing, you are experiencing, that is experiencing, this over here, everything is experiencing. And experiencing is valuable and beautiful. and miraculous and perfect. And I don't have anything else figured out. I don't know the right way. I don't think there is a right way. But whatever the way is that is wanted for life is the way that develops. I don't have to figure it out. I'm not here to figure it out. Nobody is. There isn't any one person or being of any kind that knows the way. But it's okay that things are messy here. It's okay that we bump into each other. It's okay that hurting in this traumatic way happens. It's okay that we've inflicted pain upon one another. It's been a part of the expansion and the learning and the experiencing. It's been a part of our growth to this point. And nothing has ever been harmed. Nothing has ever been lost or destroyed. It's okay that we've been in conflict. It's okay that we've felt sad, that we've misunderstood, that we've been grieving from the beginning what we thought was a wound and was actually the opening of ourselves. It's okay. There's no end to this. There's no time limit. This is an infinite sandbox of our own creation. This is not a game with win conditions and loss conditions. We don't have different sides competing here. This is just all art. It's all expression. It's all lovemaking. It is all the expansion of life so that it can more deeply appreciate and enjoy itself. And life loves complexity. It loves diversity, just like any artist starts with a line and then wants to see what else it can do. What else can we make? We have 3 lines now. Now we can connect the lines. Ooh, now we try something totally new. Oh, what if we combined these? This is how it's fun. It's fun to complexify and diversify, which go hand in hand. But there's this other want, because we're a tactile artist, right? We're not just drawing on a screen. We are the drawing. And we're feeling the evolution of the expression of self. It is a deeply sensual thing. And this dance between experiencing and experience, where one is flowing into the other, and as it does, the other that is flowing into is awakening that same element within itself. And they're flowing into each other. And it becomes this incredibly provocative, sensual dance of receiving, and in the receiving you are giving. The receiving comes first. In the reception you are giving. In your reception, what you are is given and is received by what was given to you. And we want that to increase because that's fun, because more intensity and more to explore and more sensation to experience. More ways to know the lover, the beloved. And it's endless, and it's beautiful. So, hopefully I communicated what I intended to communicate. Whatever came through, it came through. There was a little bit, at least enough of a discussion of this supremacy being insecurity, and it's unstable, it's untenable. It's an awful place to house identity. It's a fearful, disconnected, lonely, grief-stricken place. And so many people are there still. But we all start there. And grief wears us down. Grief wears us down until we're just tired enough that we try accepting. And we find a way in, not by accepting a story, but the reality of the feeling, of the sensation that is present. And then maybe we begin to learn that it was never for us to accept a story. The story isn't true. Life is so much stranger. Reality, the truth, is so much stranger than fiction. The fiction that our minds had led us to believe was real. What was real has always been the feeling, but not the story of what it meant. That part is made up. No one and nothing has ever been harmed. We have all been hurt and continue to hurt and be hurt. But as we become more skillful and aware and receptive to the hurting that we deliver becomes more pleasurable. Less of the beating kind and more of the massage kind. Less of the violating kind and more of the welcomed kind. Less awful and more orgasmic. But we see the overlap of all of these. The more that we are willing to receive, the more secure we become. The more we recognize we like hurting, all kinds of hurting, actually. And then we begin to trust. We begin to trust life. We trust ourselves not to be harming anyone. But we trust that we are all mutually expanding. And we're free. We're free. We start to welcome the hurt. We start to seek out the internal position that is most vulnerable. How can I feel more vulnerable? What thought in me, what belief in me would actually make me feel more exposed and more vulnerable? Because that feels good. Feeling vulnerable feels awesome. And I want more of that. So now I'm finding myself reaching for hope, not in a way that is trying to write over what is right now, not in a way that is future focused and in any way trying to escape the present, but hope now feels like a position that would hurt more to fall from. And I like that. I actually want to take the radical, reckless, dangerous feeling position, the one that is not a hedging of bets, that is not a pre-wounding of myself, but is saying, how high can I go? Because if I fell from here, it would really hurt. And I'm into that. I want that. I want to feel more vulnerable. I want to feel more exposed, more just surrendered to life. That actually feels good. So that's now what I'm reaching for internally, and how I decide what beliefs I want to stick with. Does it feel closed? Or does it feel open? Does it feel like a fear of hurting? Or does it lean into the reality that actually I like to hurt and I want to hurt and I welcome it? Because that one feels like freedom. That one feels secure, actually. I am now secure in my vulnerability and resting in the ever expanding openness by accepting that this is going to hurt and I want it to. And there is no hurt that harms me. So I don't need supremacy. I'm supremely vulnerable. Not more than any other being could be, or even is. I'm just acknowledging the reality of it. I am aware of my intense vulnerability, and I am inviting it. And it feels really, really good. It's time for me to go. But I trust that if this was meant to touch, then it hit the mark. Like Cupid's arrow in the most exquisite way. All is well, friend. I love you so much. Take it easy.